Well, for anybody who might see this some other time, another version of the now, I'm here with Andrew, who I met uh, via TikTok, and now we're finally talking in real time. So, Andrew, thank you so much for popping on to the John Brewster podcast. I'm excited to keep on doing more conversations like this, and my intention is to create conscious and empowering music. So that is all related to conversations, content, and the music and the message. They all kind of intertwine. And it's been an experimental phase of figuring out how I best serve. And one thing's for certain is it's so inspiring to see other people out there on the spiritual journey, sharing their message, telling their story, sharing their truth. Um, I know that we're not alone because one thing that, let me grab this quote. Actually, I won't remember it, but I was just looking at your Instagram and there was a quote you had shared that was just talking about how, it's so tempting and addictive to live our lives online. And we it can be such a trap, even though it's like one of the greatest inventions that humans have ever created, the internet. We can live our lives like so many of us on our phones, on Instagram through this two-dimensional version of ourselves. Um, but anyways, bro, I'm glad you're on here. What's your vibe today? How you feeling?
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm
Of
really
course.
excited for the conversation today, and really
Mhm.
excited to connect. The vibe today, I'd say alignment and surrender. That's the
Mm,
vibe. Just trust, a lot of trust, a lot of diving into the unknown. How about yourself?
good, good. I like to do a couple words, like intentions to go by, themes for the day.
Mm.
And my themes for today are excellence, play, and gratitude.
Oh, those
So
are awesome.
I try to keep a couple words with me throughout the day, like to filter my experience through, just to come back, like, okay, how can I make this excellent and playful and uh,
Oh, that's
grateful?
awesome.
Hmm.
That's awesome. Today I actually had the kind of similar thing. This it came into my mind. Respond rather than react.
Mm,
So I've been kind of like that seems to be a vibe too about like
mhm,
responding, observing.
mhm. Where are you right now? Like, where are you based?
I'm near Chicago,
Cool.
like in the suburbs, Midwest.
Nice. I'm not far. I'm visiting Wisconsin right now.
Oh, not where at in Wisconsin?
Plover,
I
Plover,
haven't heard.
Wisconsin. I'm not too familiar with the area. I'm up here with my partner and visiting her family. I'm staying in this guest room and just kind of on the road right now.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
What?
we're not too far.
Nice. Well, we can connect after
Yeah, yeah.
after.
Road trip. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your necklace? About we're both
It's
rocking some dope necklaces right now.
yin yang.
Nice. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
talking about.
It's also grounding. It's like it has like I don't know like a it's called like a scalar pendant. So like where I got it, he had us do like a test. So he would have us like try to balance on one leg and then hold out our arm and push it down. And it was way easier to balance with this thing. And you can like feel like it's really cool.
Wow. I thought where you're going with that was gonna be something along the lines of, like, if you balance this way, you're leaning in your masculine, if you balance this way, you're leaning in your
Oh,
feminine, but or just both, integrate them both.
right. Yes. Balance in the two.
Mm, bro, so with the music, I was just realizing going through your socials, I didn't know you put out a song semi recently. That's pretty dope.
Oh yeah. Well, it's some of my so it's some of my like old songs that I had out before. I just re tuned them to the 528 hertz and put them just compiled them in an album.
Nice. Dude, so cool. I didn't gone down that rabbit hole yet of your work.
Yeah,
And
yeah. That was my original in 2020. My original intention was to like grow as an independent like artist. But then the universe took me to this like spiritual, teacher life coaching thing, and I'm like, I enjoy it, and it's aligned. So it's just like I'm doing what I'm being called to do.
Right.
Um, and I think I started really working on like raising my vibration, letting go of things, and seems like what naturally aligns to me at this state of being is what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And I feel like music always has a place in my heart. That was why I love your music and just love music in
Mm.
general.
Was that an interesting, like, shift for you? Like, I relate to you in the fact of, like, about a year ago, I was really torn with my identity starting to collapse in on itself of
Uh-huh.
wanting to be multiple things. Like, I wanted to start a podcast, but I didn't see many musicians doing that. But I wanted to be a musician, but I didn't see many podcast. Like, I started
Yeah.
seeing these things start combining, and uh, was that like a comfortable transition, or what was that like shifting from music to this new alignment of now being more
Yeah.
like creating the way that you're creating now?
Yeah. No, it was pretty smooth. It actually, this is actually maybe inspiring to anyone listening. It actually came through like some difficult times, some things I went through while I was on that journey for music, and yeah, that's like I was shifted into this new path, and like it was very very beautiful how it unfolded. So that's kind of like what shifted me was actually like some difficult things I was going through. So definitely, if anyone's listening, and it's like those moments can definitely be a chance to like bring us closer to who we are.
Mm, mhm. Yeah, for me, like, I felt really at ends because my ego really wanted me to, like, pick a certain path. It's like,
Oh right,
"Be
yeah,
just this, be
yeah,
just this," or just,
right,
like, make it clear, like, "You are a teacher, you are a
yeah,
student, you are a musician," and then
right,
eventually I was like, that game can't be played for too long because
yes,
it's why not be all those things? Why not
right,
create however I feel like creating? If I wanna make an album this right now, like, make an album. If I wanna do a series of podcasts, do a series of podcasts. Like, there's no, and that sounds so simple, but it's funny how, like, at least in my experience, my ego would play games of, like, trying to pick one, and it's like, "No, like, I don't think you have to. You can
right,
be multi-passionate about what you wanna create or what the universe really wants to create through you." And
Ye-
that was the pull, like, the universe was pulling me to, like, expand, like, do more than just music because you feel called to. I'm like, "Ah," and then I let go and it started opening up more, and that can be a little scary because it's now I'm creating things I've never created before, but I'm growing, which is that's the trade-off that I think is worth it. I hope.
right. No, definitely, definitely. I agree on that. Like, I think to put ourselves into something is definitely limiting our possibilities, or even limiting what could be possible for like even our main focus. Like, so for me, I put the thing of like, oh, like on my profile, oh, life coach and stuff, just so so people know. But
Mhm.
I don't really, like you said, I don't like identify with life coach. I'm just being myself. because
Right.
because then it's like, oh, like, well, if I'm just myself, then I can like, you know, like you said, jump into the unknown and new things and all that kind of stuff. So definitely resonate with that.
Mm,
Um, and again, like you said, it isn't always comfortable, but the growth is very, very powerful.
mhm. What's it been like getting more into coaching? That's something I've been preparing for, and I almost, I would say I was pretty close to committing to it fully, and I felt the
Mm,
universe nudge me to say, "Hey, like, before you open up that portal and start committing to other divine souls and, like, investing your energy in that area," the universe was like, "Okay, I can see what that would look like, and it can be done, and we might need you for that at some point, but work on an album, like, work on your music because that's kinda like the top of the pyramid, I think, for what
mm,
the universe wants me to create and focus on, and then, like, from there, everything else." So it's like
right,
I have to get that part right first before I
right,
do everything else.
right. Yeah. So for coaching, no, it's been amazing.
Mm,
It's honestly, it's like the coolest part is it's like you're helping people through their journey, but it's also like your own kind of like growth too. Because it's like you see sometimes I see things reflected that like they're going through that that I've been through, or maybe so like it's really cool. It's like very much like a lot of, I'd say, like synchronicity, a lot of like cool things that happen where it's like you know, it's really awesome that it's like it's also my inner journey to become like my best version, to then be able to serve um, you know, who I'm coaching to the best,
Mhm.
of what they're needing. And yeah, it's really cool. It's definitely been in itself a journey of growth, and yeah.
Bro, one theory I've had as like an aha moment, maybe a week or two ago, was that when I'm connecting with people in real time, so many opportunities and portals and insight happens. Like there's only so much I get from consuming social media or like an
Right,
inspirational YouTube video, like which that
right,
it's so inspiring to me. Like in the morning, part of my morning routine, I love to like watch, you know, whatever, a video from Oprah, just an interview, or
right.
Elon Musk or Michael Jordan, whoever, like just the
Yeah.
best of the best, just to be in that frequency and connect to it. And then like when I'm connecting with someone in real time, like doing a podcast like this,
Mhm.
the amount of insight that could come during it and then afterwards of like residual of like reflections is so
Right,
like exponential versus just a YouTube video or something. So,
right.
um, I guess I say that as uh, like cheering us on for being in the game. Like I think there's something really magical about being on the stage. Like you just learn so much because you kind of stumble your way forward, I think. And
Right, right.
preparing for this, it's like I think I
Yes.
could have prepared a little bit more, but I kind of want to just flow with it like Joe Rogan.
Right,
But then like that's the learning. I wouldn't have learned that from watching a YouTube
right.
video about something.
Yes. That's that's definitely something else. Speaking of bringing up insights and stuff, there we go.
Yeah.
That's something else I've learned, is really to learn how, you can, as Ralph Smart says, you can be the masterpiece and the work in progress. So knowing, like, in the past I would be in this mindset a couple of years ago where I would be like, okay, only when I do all these things can I finally be like, I need to be like perfect, like all these things, and then I can do it. I need to, like, have everything, whatever, right? But now it's like, um, I'm learning that, like you said, it doesn't have to be like a, perfect. It's not like the point is to, for me, through coaching, to like, give all the right answers and everything. Well, I see myself more as like a guide, and I help guide their journey, help their growth, and then through that, it's also, like I said, like my journey and my growth that's also flowing, and it's like I can just show up be okay with where I'm at.
Mhm.
So it's really helped me learn that with coaching, is just, to really be okay with where I'm at, knowing that I'm, of course, have the intentions of evolving, but learning to accept myself and be like, oh, I'm like, I'm good enough. I don't have to be like, you know, yeah. Sometimes we fall into like comparison with, like, we see, especially on social media, we see certain people, and then it's like, oh, like, look at, I'm nowhere near them, but then just remembering that, no, we are good enough, and we have, what we have to share.
Mm. Bro, I couldn't agree more with that. Like there's this story, I don't know where it came from, but I've shared it a couple times and it always inspires me when I hear my ego start creeping in with the comparison game of
Uh-huh.
like this person's so much more further along. I'm 25, I haven't had a hit song yet. It's like no, 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 no. Like everything is so going to plan and there's different timelines for everybody. And
Right.
the story that helps reassure me a bit is the idea of like, okay, so imagine there's a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old learning how to sing for the first
Mhm.
time. Compared to Michael Jackson or whatever your some favorite all-time singer is for
Mhm.
you, technically that all-time singer that's been singing for 30, 40 years is much more technically good. but we equally can feel inspired by both of them because all it is, it seems, is being at the edge of their potential. When the 5 or 6-year-old is just getting out of their comfort zone into their discomfort zone and just getting a little bit better, like that like pumps us up like, wow, like that's so amazing. That 5-year-old, even though he missed all the notes, is like pretty
Right.
cool. And
Right.
then the same thing for the Michael Jackson, like he's hitting all these notes, but the fact he's stretching just beyond what he's capable of,
Hmm.
that like just we're like, whoa, that's amazing. Same feeling, even though completely different skills.
That's amazing. I resonate with that so much. So you're saying like when you're just kind of like going beyond what you would think was kind of possible, going beyond, yeah, like you said, the comfort
Yeah.
zone.
Yeah. Like if someone watches this and it's like, if we're just like doing the best we can, it's like no different than the best of the best of the best doing it. Just
Mm,
as long as you're doing the best you can, like that's always inspiring. Wherever you're at, like, that's inspiring to people. Like, when the 5-year-old does the best he can or she can, that's inspiring,
right.
even though it's not, you know, the best, but it
Right.
is, but
No,
it is.
that was a major insight. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem. I draw on that one to make myself, remember that focusing on my best is what's important, and I think it's Ed Sheeran that says, like maybe it's not Ed Sheeran, I can't remember. But you just keep doing that over and over and over again. Oh, here it is. Here it is. So it's like that 5 or 6-year-old that sang all the wrong notes but got a little bit better because he pushed or she pushed into the new version, new best version, and we're inspired by that. It's like that is no different than playing a stadium show. You just do that 1,000 times and then the 1,000th time is the stadium show, but it was the
Mm,
same like you took that same courageous step at age whatever and then you just did it so consistently. It's over time it developed into something that was some more grandiose or whatever, but technically like the courageousness was no different from day 1 to day 1,000.
wow.
You know what I mean?
That's amazing. No, that helps. I'm sure that helps. Anyone listening with like, and that helps me because it's like, if there's something we're like, oh, we have this whatever, like this huge stream, and we're like, oh, like sometimes that whole thing, like of how big it is, we don't know what to do, and all these things. We're like we just don't even start. But I think with that, what you were saying, like just having that notion of like just stretching a bit, getting into the same place that getting into the more of that state of courageousness, taking the leap into something new. It doesn't have to be something even, it's just what's our next kind of leap. It probably makes it easier, and that's honestly that's actually now that I'm thinking about it, that's what I did with like my TikTok. I just, I,
Tell me about it. That
I,
sounds cool.
yeah, I just kind of went, what's the next kind of intuitively, what's the next best step to do? And yeah, yeah,
TikTok, I've described it as I'm curious what you think about this. Like the wild, wild west of creativity right now.
hmm hmm
Like there's seemingly no rules. There's just so much creativity. And
right,
I'm so impressed with the algorithms going on there for like the fact that we connected it or however I came across your work. It's like, wow, I have so many similar interests and this is I wouldn't have found this on Instagram.
right. Yeah, no, it's amazing. Yeah, especially the algorithm now. It's like
I
it's like
can't
you find
imagine.
like
I don't
the perfect people who vibe with you. Like I do love that. Literally, like you can really be yourself on there. There's no like it's not really too much rules. Like a lot of times, sometimes would fall into places like, oh, I need to do this kind of video for it to go do well, and then a lot of times I get myself into that state, and because my energy is like out of alignment, then it's like it doesn't even work. And then sometimes I just have fun and do something kind of different, and people like it. So it's like really, it's just you can just be yourself and have fun. It's awesome.
oh, wow. Bro, what do you think's something you've learned from using TikTok as like a tool or platform for sharing? Like are there any particular lessons or insights that have been like, oh, like through that experience of sharing on that platform, I've learned XYZ about myself?
Uh-huh. Um, well, I've definitely about the world. I've definitely learned that there's a lot more like people who are open to spirituality and these kind of topics than I ever could have imagined.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see, um, and especially because a lot of times in the journey, we could feel alone and like no one really understands us or gets like what we're into. But just seeing that, where the world's even again, I always say the light shines brightest in the darkness. So even like with everything that on the outside happened, and all these things that are happening, like it's beautiful to see just how much like people really stepped into like inner growth and healing and transformation and
Mm.
diving more into their purpose and passions. And it's really so definitely learned that about the world, that there's a lot more people who are into this than I could even imagine. And about myself, I'd say that I think I've learned that to trust my intuition. My
Mhm.
intuition is uh, pretty. The more I trust my intuition, the more things seem to go well.
Mhm.
Even though that's like not a typical approach, but learning to trust my intuition more, and it's like sometimes like I was saying, like, oh, like this, I should do this video because it would do well, but then it doesn't actually work, and then I just get into like alignment and trust what's meant to be. And it might not be what the what the mind would say that this is supposed to work, or this is what people need, but it ends up being what people need more than what I so kind of also like, yeah, just surrendering what I think is best, and really knowing like what 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 is meant to be kind of like seen or shared. That's been a big one, because that was a huge step for me, because I was always very like wanting to like control and like think that other think I knew best, and like but just kind of surrendering. And yeah, that's been
Wow.
something I've really learned through this process.
Mm. Well, thank you for sharing, man. I know that's like a very real question in my heart and soul to kind of question to ask. Like, what did you learn? I
Mhm.
feel like we're here to learn stuff in many ways.
Right.
Um, so like, thank you for diving into that on the spot and just like reflecting. I'm so fascinated by those kind of questions, like what we're learning and
Mhm.
self awareness and just the spiritual journey. Um, so yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's just like I love it. I would ask those questions all day because it's like, what are we learning here?
Right, right. No, I feel that. I feel that.
It's hard to remember what I'm learning. I've noticed in this lifetime, I've known myself to be forgetful, and
Mhm.
developing a morning routine and journaling and awakening to remembering what's going on, remembering my purpose. And this album that I'm working on is starting to reveal itself. It's going to be 11 songs, and there's some nice themes starting to run through it. And the backbone seems to be around remembering your purpose. Like
Wow.
there's a lot of, I use the word forget 3 or 4 times in here. Um, like tell your story, share your truth, your legacy lives on, where your soul belongs, allowing yourself to shine. The word allow is popular in there. Um, yeah, it's like remembering. It's so easy to forget. Like
Mhm.
sometimes depending on the environment that I was in, I would forget the light that I had to shine. I would dim my light
Mhm.
and hide. It's like so easy to hide, but in the last year or two, as I've really branched out to start sharing my own music, at this point, it hurts more not to share my light. Like it's reversed, where
Wow.
for a while, like I could kind of get away with the universe a little bit to be like hiding a little bit and like
Mhm.
not really showing. And now it's like, yeah, like that doesn't work long term for me.
Mhm.
And now it's like the outward motion, I think, where it's although vulnerable and scary and all the insecurities I'm working through and all of it, but I know it's the best thing, 'cause like I've tasted long periods of confusion and depression and hopelessness, and those still pop up, of course, of small patches, but I have so many more tools, like breath work and meditation and journaling and getting outside. Like,
Right.
what are some tools or things that you like to use or go to when you feel in a funk or just need to get realigned?
Yeah, pretty similar. I'd say pretty similar to yours. Main one I'd say is definitely going out into nature.
Yeah. Dude, nature is so underrated, like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, definitely. It really like it's like one of those things. But once you really feel like the benefits and you go out in there, then you're like, no, you can't go back anymore.
Mm-mm. Like, it's beyond a movie. Like, if I go for a walk after we're done chatting and then just silently go for a walk for 30 minutes, it's the most surreal experience that I'm sure many, 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 many poets have described. Like, there's no words for how magical it is and the amount of inspiration I get for like, I'm so, influenced by society to be working and always taking steps forward, oftentimes inside in front of a screen or whatever it is, and to justify going for a 30-minute or hour-long walk is like, "Oh, I don't have time for that." It's like, "What? You don't have time for that? Like, what's wrong?"
Right.
Like, that's not right, like,
Yeah.
that that's a lot of the world we live in, and I think that's shifting a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that too. That it's shifting, and it's really beautiful because I think a lot of our struggle in society, all physically, mentally, like all all the struggles we have. A lot of them come from, I think, our disconnection from nature. And to just it's just so like 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 I forget what there's something I saw like the best medicine is like sun, nature, all that breathing fresh air, all that kind of stuff, and it really is. It's amazing. There's also something that came up with when you were saying that about the meditation. Something about like something about like some Zen. You may have heard this. There's some Zen teacher for like a meditation, and he told someone to meditate for like 15 or like 10 minutes. And they said like, "Oh, I don't, I don't have time to do that." And they're like, "Okay, then you should meditate for an hour."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've heard that one. It's so true. It's so true. Like, one thing that's coming up right now is for little things like that, just the basic, uh, like the starter pack activities that can so alleviate suffering, meditation, breathing, going outside, so simple
Mm,
that our mind or our task, our everyday life experiences we might skip over them because we deem them as somehow not important all of a sudden, which,
right.
uh, but uh, they're so powerful. And what I wanted to share is there's a quote by, I think it came from, what's his name? Ed Milet. And he talks about how self confidence is the promises that you keep to yourself.
Mm,
And the other day I said to myself, I've never regretted doing my morning routine. Like, I've never gone through breath work,
right.
meditation, going for a walk, like I've never taken care of myself and been like, dang, I wish I didn't do that. Like, never.
Right.
Maybe beforehand you're like, oh, like I don't want to work out today or whatever. But that's just the mind that wants to be lazy and do things that
Right.
are not good for you.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that extra bit of discipline to like follow through on your word of, all right, tomorrow morning I'm gonna meditate for, all right, 5 minutes. And you follow through on that, not only does your body and soul like realign and re-energize itself, but like you kind of build this subtle trust with yourself that I think can compound of like, yeah, like I said I was gonna do this and I did it. And if I do that again tomorrow, I'll feel like really good about the momentum I'm building, like this that no one else can give me that. At least in my experience, like that feeling can't be hasn't been given to me. I've only been able to give it to myself when
Mm-hmm.
I follow through on things like that. And then it's like, yeah, I just like feel good because I'm doing the things I say that I decided to do, that no one else told me to do. It's like there's a boss inside you and an employee inside of you, and like they're working really well together. They're not one's not like tyrannizing one, and
Right.
one's not complaining, saying, "Well, I don't want to work," and you know what I mean. They're like
Right.
working together and making healthy spiritual progress.
I like that analogy. I haven't heard that, but I like that.
Yeah, like the different parts in you, like
Mm-hmm.
you just need to fire them both. Sometimes there's been parts of my life I just need to fire them both. Like the boss in me would be too strict and like unforgiving, like, oh, you didn't do this, so
Right.
you're nagging yourself. And then the employee doesn't want to do anything. These are like, of course,
Yeah.
more negative stereotypes,
Mm.
but like a healthier version, an encouraging boss and an enthusiastic employee. It's like, yeah, we can accomplish whatever, and that's like an inner relationship
Mm.
through those things. Like, yeah, breath work for me has been a huge one for the last year. Um, really has been nice to go outside and do breath work. Like such a great bang for the buck for me, like energetically. Just it clears my mind so well. So well. Have you done much breath work or
Because what kind of breath work do you do? Or
it's
like what's?
more in the Wim Hof area, like
Uh,
30, 40 deep breaths, pretty powerful breaths and sometimes a long hold.
yeah. I
About
need. I should. So how long do you do that for?
like 5 to 10 minutes most mornings,
Okay.
sometimes longer.
That's that's something I need to maybe look into, like shorter breathwork things like that, because I've done more like, I don't know, if like kind of like transformational healing
Like
breathwork.
shamanic breath work.
Yeah, that's like, longer lengths of time releasing, yeah, and that that gets kind of, it's like you do it once in a while and then you kind of integrate things. So that's the kind I do from time to time. But definitely I should start doing that kind of, for a few minutes, those deep breaths. Yeah, would be super powerful.
hmm it's kind of like a new and improved coffee replacement for me. Although I love coffee and I've been weaning off of it slowly, and I'm as I become more aware of my emotions and how my body responds to things, coffee is really amps things up. Where I might think I'm getting more things done for like an hour, but then later that day it's like now I'm relying on it and want to have more.
Right, right.
Uh, there's this tea that's full of all kinds of uh, mushrooms and maybe some black tea. It's called mud water that my
Hmm.
partner Sarah and I are using that has like no caffeine in it, and it tastes a little bit like coffee, and it's been a beautiful replacement. So if anyone's feeling inspired to hop off the coffee wave, which I love coffee so much, but I know it's not sustainable to rely on
Mm.
to really spike the cortisol every day or get imbalanced in that way. One big lesson I've learned in this lifetime is sustainability. Like when I was in college, I went really down the rabbit hole of physical exercise. For whatever reason, it was probably just my like younger insecurities of wanting to get stronger and look good and exercise and count calories and be on like a strict program and all these things, and that like super backfired. I like went so hard down that rabbit hole that I ended up like binge eating and like not working out and just like treating my body badly and not sleeping
Right,
well and smoking too much weed all through the
right,
night and then having like like it's just a whole like sling of things, which
right.
the lesson there was like it has to be sustainable.
Hmm.
What is
Hmm.
it that you're doing? It has to be something you can do
Right.
for months, not a 2-week thing. I mean, there is a time and a place to have those stressors of like, all right, for the next
Yeah.
2 weeks, I have to get this thing finished or whatever. But
Right.
over the long term, now things like exercise for me are so much more like, can I do this when I'm 75? Okay, cool. Like, yeah, let's commit.
I like that. I like that. I like that. Yeah, that's good. That's nice. Um, I've heard something about that too, with um, like sometimes like getting really into things or like super intense stuff, and like then it comes that period where it's like yeah, that kind of like you were saying with all that extra stuff that happens, versus when it's like you said more. Yeah, no, just awesome. That's awesome. Like I didn't. Yeah. So what kinds of like things are you more into now?
Now I've been doing mostly yoga.
Oh, okay,
There,
cool.
I like to somehow combine that with something else. Like I do like lifting weights, but I haven't in the last year or so. It's been
Hmm.
mostly yoga and breath work. It's felt really nice. Like um my body just feels really like not like when I used to lift a lot, like I could feel it deep, deep, deep in my core, like my bones, my joints, like something like it maybe just wasn't designed for me in a way where I think resistance is great. Like resistance and contrast is what grows us on the
Hmm.
physical level, of course, and we could talk about that spiritually as well. But like something like yoga has been super sustainable for me recently because like every day I can show up and push myself and center my mind and know that it's very sustainable for my body. And it feels so good. Like day-to-day activities, I don't have any creaks or anything. There's no pop. Like I'm just feel very fluid,
Wow.
which Age of Aquarius, I know so little about, but I did remember seeing you made a post about that. Astrology. I've not learned my astrology yet.
You mean yours personally,
Um
or in general?
just in general, yeah.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't know much. I don't know much about astrology either. I Yeah, I know like the basics. I was talking about this on a thing. I was doing like a live on TikTok yesterday, and I was talking about it. And I say every time I like go, because it's very interesting. And I think it's really cool how it aligns and things. You can find a lot of insights through it. But then I was saying every time I like dive into it more, it's like I get like over identified with certain things. I'm like, oh, I'm a whatever sign, so I must be this.
Right.
Versus like being able to grow and be whichever way um, you want to. So that's why I'm kind of like I think is really interesting. And again, it could be used like you were talking about, like as a tool versus rather than something to like rely upon that I need to know the astrology and all that
Right.
kind of stuff.
Right. Like what if for some of those awesome apps that track your patterns. Have you heard of the app called The Pattern? There's one
No,
called The
no.
Pattern that's really good, kind of like that, where it shows like your daily horoscope type of thing.
Uh-huh.
Which there's a lot of those things out there.
Yeah.
But like what if there was a blind test where you just never looked at those things till the end of the day and it's like, did my day go like that
Whoa, that would be cool. Cause
for like a
yeah, that'd
month?
be cool.
So yeah, like you see at the end of the day, like, oh, did I have those kind of struggles today? Yes or no?
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be a good way to
Like a
to test it.
reflection versus like a influenced prediction. Like
Right,
instead of
right.
molding your day, you're kind of like reflecting on your day.
Oh, I like that. That's good. That's good. I
Just a
like
thought.
that.
Yeah, there's an app called The Pattern that used to be really spot on for me.
Mhm.
Um, but then again, like it's something about it always was like I loved it when it aligned, and then like I started second guessing it when it didn't align. So then it's like, well, what
Right,
do I
yeah.
fully believe it, or do I sometimes believe it, or do I never believe it?
Yes, yes. Yeah, right,
So
right.
it's some mixture, but yeah, man. Well, like, is there anything else that's you're feeling called to share in this flow today, as far as maybe if there's anything you'd want to point people to if this audio reaches out to the web?
Mhm. Um
You got your coaching, got some music, got the
Oh
social.
yeah, definitely. Like different social medias, YouTube, all that stuff. Authentic. Well, I think you'll put it probably right. You'll put
Yeah.
the name. Okay, yeah. So authentically Andrew on
Heck
any
yeah.
social media, mainly TikTok. That's where I do focus my creativity. But it's on Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff. Um, but as far as a message, I would say
Mm.
what feels called is to to follow the heart, follow whoever's listening, to follow your heart, to and if you don't if you don't know what's in your heart, then set the intention, take time to connect with your heart. um to I think weren't we talking about the heart mind a bit
We might have
at
touched
some
on
point?
it, but
Yeah,
what?
so just knowing, like, the heart is, there's a reason we have certain dreams and aspirations, and
Mm.
it's a center for love, and really it can guide you into beautiful places. So I think that's the message I want to share, that just to, or be open to following, you know, uh, what the heart wants as well. Especially a lot of times in this, in this society, growing up, we kind of were more accustomed to, through school, using our mind more, like mental intelligence. But I think
Right.
moving forward, that's going to be a very powerful shift, is like that emotional intelligence, the heart center, to just be like, okay, like, let me just see, like, even if it seems like, I have these plans. Let me see. Maybe there's something that's more aligned for me. That's or like more. Yeah, just see where the heart takes you.
Hmm. Bro, thank you, man. I have a
Mm.
little, a small mantra that I'd love
Mm.
to share as just like a parting moment.
Yes, yes.
It won't be on this album as of now, but it's just a short one saying thank you for showing up. Thank
Mm.
you to you for showing up, and thank you for sharing all that you're sharing. Like, if it wasn't for all the times you've hit post on these downloads you've had and shared on TikTok and all the various, like, you didn't have to do any of those things. You could have just said no to all those
Right,
inspirational moments, and that wouldn't have led to all these beautiful things. And I'm sure so many beautiful people that you've met just in the last few months, because things are just happening so fast and
right.
slow. And so just thank you for showing up. And here's a little something. I think I'll let the music do the rest. Thank you for showing up. A good day, everybody. A good night, everybody. We've seen such a sunny day, divine in all our ways, inspired to create. We learn to celebrate the good times. So thank you for showing up.
That's amazing. I got goosebumps. Chills.
Mm,
I
bro.
felt that. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it, and I think we talked about a lot of great things.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I've learned is I have no idea how Joe Rogan can chat for 3 hours and have so bro, like, I feel like we covered so much and it's only been like 45 minutes. But
Yeah,
bro, I'm so glad we got to connect in this window of time, and I'll send you this recording afterwards and we can play with it. And yeah, if anyone's watching this, much love, and thank you, Andrew, for being here and for showing up. Mm.
yeah. Thank you as well. I really appreciate it.